The Galactic Assembly convened in a sprawling chamber that seemed more like a cosmic cathedral than a council hall. Starfields shimmered in transparent walls that stretched beyond sight, framing the gathering of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Towering crystalline obelisks pulsed with sentient light. Gelatinous beings rippled in rhythm with the chamber's ambient hum. Mechanical constructs, more machine than life, hovered in strict formations, their eye-like sensors fixed on the holographic projection of a blue-green planet, Earth. The topic of discussion was humanity's petition to join the galactic community. It wasn't a debate, it was a spectacle. The Assembly's tone was clear in its dismissal. Holocharts displaying Earth's technological timeline were dwarfed by the advanced civilization's records, their alien figures gesturing toward them with disdain. A voice, sharp and layered like a chorus of whispers, resonated. It came from the delegator of the Vrock hive mind, a race of insected beings whose collective intelligence spanned millions of years. Humans, the delegator said, mandibles clicking. Short-lived pests. They are little more than flickering sparks on a dim, primitive world. What value could they bring to our assembly? The crystalline entity known as Speaker Sir, whose body refracted light into brilliant patterns, chimed in telepathically. Their thoughts are chaotic, unrefined. A cacophony of unconnected ideas. They lack the precision required for true advancement. A deep growl rumbled through the hall as General Thrak of the Scar Empire leaned forward. His reptilian visage, scarred from countless battles, twisted into a toothy grin. No wars of conquest. No domination of their own planet. They call their history progress? They are weak. The assembly erupted in laughter, a cacophony of alien sounds that reverberated in the grand hall. To them, humanity's mortality, its limited lifespan and fragile existence, was the ultimate disqualification. Amidst the grandeur and ridicule stood a lone figure, Earth's ambassador. Clad in modest attire that barely masked the inferiority of their species, the human cleared their throat. The sound was almost swallowed by the murmurs of contempt. Yet, with steady resolve, they began to speak. We may be short-lived compared to some of you, but our time is not wasted. In our fleeting lives we have endured plagues that decimated our populations, wars that scarred our world, and disasters that brought us to the brink of extinction. Yet we survived. And in surviving, we created art, music, and technologies that define us. Every step forward, no matter how small, is an act of defiance against the inevitability of our end. The ambassador's words hung in the air for a moment, only to be shattered by laughter louder than before. General Thrax slapped the armrest of his seat, his booming voice mocking. Art? Music? These are the cries of the weak, some only to distract themselves from their impending death. Undeterred, the ambassador continued. You laugh at our mortality, but it is our greatest strength. It drives us to do more, to be more, because we know our time is limited. While you stagnate in your eternal lives, we push forward, faster than you can comprehend. The crystalline speaker glimmered in amusement, their telepathic voice dripping with sarcasm. Push forward? Toward what? The same death you so valiantly embrace? The ambassador paused, their gaze unwavering. Toward purpose. Toward meaning. And sometimes toward the unknown. We face death every day and have learned not to fear it. In fact, we've given it a name, the Grim Reaper. And we have made it our teacher. The room fell silent, the aliens momentarily unsure how to respond to this strange sentiment. It was the delegator who finally broke the quiet. Grim Reaper? Another human fantasy to veil your weakness. The ambassador smiled faintly. Perhaps. But even fantasies have power. A new voice, deep and resonant, filled the chamber. The presiding adjudicator of the assembly spoke, its tone neutral yet final. Enough. If Earth wishes to prove its worth, then let us give them the chance. Humanity will face the trial, a simulation to measure adaptability and endurance. Should they fail, their petition will be denied, and their world will remain isolated. The assembly murmured approval, already anticipating humanity's inevitable failure. Prepare yourselves, the adjudicator concluded, casting a fleeting glance at the ambassador. And bring your Grim Reaper. We shall see if it teaches you survival or simply delivers you to your end. The chamber dimmed, the projection of Earth flickering ominously before disappearing entirely. As the assembly dispersed, the laughter lingered in the air, though tinged now with a trace of curiosity. The trial was designed to crush any hope of success. As the Galactic Assembly gathered in a massive observation chamber, an elaborate simulation was prepared. Alien engineers worked in synchronized precision, activating a network of holographic interfaces that stretched across the chamber's walls. The trial was not a single challenge but a gauntlet, testing every facet of survival against scenarios humanity could scarcely imagine. Earth's ambassador stood silently, watching as the setup neared completion. A machine unlike anything on Earth's surface thrummed to life, projecting a virtual Earth-like environment, familiar yet grotesquely distorted. Scenarios cycled through the holograms, each more catastrophic than the last: an invasion by an advanced alien armada, a planetary-wide plague with no cure, the sudden collapse of Earth's atmosphere, and other horrors engineered to exploit the limits of human endurance. The stakes were clear. Failure meant permanent isolation. No alliances, no access to galactic technology, no aid. Earth would remain a lone speck in the cosmos, vulnerable and forgotten. A cold silence fell over the chamber as the first scenario began. Mockery filled the air almost instantly. Delegates whispered and sneered as human participants entered the simulation. The insectoid hivemind's voice echoed with smug certainty. They will crumble at the first sign of disarray. Individuality is a liability. The reptilian general scoffed, sharp teeth gleaming. They'll scatter like prey. Fear is their nature. Bets were made. Some wagered humans wouldn't last beyond the first trial. Others placed odds on which scenario would break them. From the crystalline speaker came only a bemused glimmer of light. They saw no point in wagering. Humanity's failure was, in their minds, guaranteed. Yet as the trial unfolded, the mood shifted. Humanity's first task, a hostile alien invasion, should have been their undoing. Superior firepower, overwhelming numbers, and relentless attacks pressed the humans into desperate action. And then, to the aliens' surprise, they adapted. With no central leadership, small groups of humans coordinated with uncanny precision. They salvaged alien technology from the simulated battlefield, repurposing it into makeshift weapons and shields. A single human, outnumbered and cornered, sacrificed themselves by triggering a chain of explosions that destroyed the invaders' supplies, allowing their team to regroup. "What is this?" muttered the hive mind. "They prioritize others over themselves? How inefficient!" The crystalline speaker tilted, studying the screen. "No. It is not inefficiency. It is strategy born of desperation. Curious." The second trial, a planetary plague, tested not only resilience but intellect. Humanity responded by pooling knowledge. Scientists worked tirelessly, creating temporary quarantine zones while engineers built rudimentary laboratories within hours. Every failure taught them something new. The plague spread faster than they could stop it, yet their collective determination grew faster still. When one human fell, another took their place without hesitation. The reptilian general snarled, his amusement fading. "Their endurance is unnatural. They should have succumbed to despair by now." "They improvise," the crystalline speaker observed. "Where we see chaos, they find opportunity." The simulations grew harsher. Earth's atmosphere crumbled in a scenario that mimicked environmental collapse. Fires consumed entire regions. Oxygen dwindled. Yet the humans, undeterred, scavenged resources, constructed shelters, and even devised oxygen recycling systems using rudimentary tools scavenged from wreckage. When food supplies ran low, they rationed with brutal efficiency. Moments of sacrifice became the norm. A young human avatar, faced with the choice of saving a vital piece of equipment or their own life, chose the former, knowing it would ensure their group's survival. The aliens, once mocking, now watched in stunned silence. "How are they surviving this?" whispered the hive mind. The reptilian general leaned forward, his clawed hand tightening into a fist. "They're stubborn. Fools. Yet, He trailed off, unwilling to admit what the others were already thinking. With each scenario, the humans did more than endure. They adapted, improvised, and evolved within the confines of the simulation. Their individual weaknesses, fragility, limited lifespans, and lack of advanced technology were overcome by their collective ingenuity and spirit. They didn't merely react to challenges, they anticipated them, learning from each failure until victory seemed inevitable. When the final scenario ended, the simulation's interface flickered and powered down. The room remained silent as the humans emerged from the virtual gauntlet. They had not only survived but thrived. The holographic screens replayed key moments, humans scavenging alien technology, shielding each other from environmental collapse, and sacrificing for the greater good. The assembly, once filled with laughter and derision, was now eerily quiet. No one dared to speak first. The humans stood tall, their presence radiating an unshakable confidence that now felt earned. The reptilian general, his pride wounded, muttered under his breath, "Impossible." The crystalline speaker finally broke the silence, their refracted light dimming slightly in what could only be described as reverence. "No. It is not impossible. It is human." The chamber buzzed with disbelief. The humans had not only survived the trial but had thrived against odds that would have crippled most species. The assembly demanded answers. "How?" General Thrax's voice cut through the murmurs, his tone laced with frustration. "How did they accomplish this? What force drives such fragile beings to succeed where strength should fail?" The human ambassadors stepped forward, their expression calm but firm. "We have faced death," they said, their voice steady and unyielding. "And we made it our teacher." The room stilled, the weight of the statement pressing against the gathered species. The crystalline speaker tilted, their refracted light flickering in uncertainty. "Teacher? You speak in riddles, human. Death is the end, the void. It teaches nothing." "On the contrary," the ambassador replied, "death teaches everything. To us, it is not simply the end but the ever-present reminder of the limits we must defy. It pushes us to create, to innovate, to endure." General Thrax growled, claws digging into the edge of his platform. "Enough with your vague philosophies. Explain," the ambassador began. "On our world, we've long understood that death is inevitable. Yet, rather than surrender to despair, we've made it a driving force for our existence. It shapes our greatest achievements. The knowledge that our time is limited compels us to act, to dream, to strive for something greater. That inevitability is why we paint, why we write, why we build. It is why we stand here today." They paused, letting the words linger before continuing. "Our civilizations are built on the edge of disaster. Natural forces, earthquakes, storms, volcanic eruptions, have threatened us since the dawn of our species. Yet, from these trials, we learn to survive. We design systems to predict, to mitigate, to rebuild. Wars devastated us, but they taught us strategy, unity, and the price of peace. Plagues decimated our populations, but from them, we developed cures and became stronger." The holograms in the chamber shifted, unbidden, displaying images pulled from Earth's archives. A Renaissance painting of a skeletal figure cloaked in black, scythe in hand. Soldiers on a battlefield, their faces grim yet resolute. Scientists in hazmat suits working tirelessly against a viral outbreak. The aliens observed, uneasy but captivated. "We have even given death a face," the ambassador continued. "The Grim Reaper. A figure that represents our understanding of mortality, not as an enemy, but as a companion. A reminder that time is finite, and that is why we must make it count. In facing this inevitability, we have found purpose, resilience, and defiance." The hive mind delegator's voice rose, sharp and discordant. "Defiance against inevitability is illogical. Resources are finite. Lives are finite. Why waste them on such futile gestures?" "Because those gestures define us," the ambassador countered. "Every moment of sacrifice, every choice to protect another at the cost of ourselves, is a statement. It is how we tell the universe, we exist, and we matter." Speakers are dimmed, their crystalline body pulsating faintly. This chaos you embrace is unsettling. You do not fear death, yet you fight it at every turn. How do you reconcile such contradictions? We do not fear death because we accept it. But acceptance does not mean surrender. Our strength lies in the balance. We acknowledge its inevitability while striving to delay it for as long as possible. In that struggle, we find meaning. General Thrak leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Meaning? Your lives are fleeting. What can a creature accomplish in so short a span that would matter to the galaxy? The ambassador smiled faintly. Perhaps nothing to you. But to us, every act matters. It matters because it's finite. It matters because we know it might be our last. Tell me, General, how many wars have your people fought? How many have you won? Thrak hesitated, his pride flickering against the sharpness of the question. Countless. We have dominated our enemies for eons. And what has it brought you? What lessons have you learned that you didn't forget centuries later? We carried the weight of every loss, every failure, because we do not have the luxury of forgetting. It is our fragility that gives us strength. The assembly murmured, discomfort growing among the delegates. The hive mind whispered among itself, unable to grasp the individual sacrifices humanity spoke of. The crystalline speaker glimmered erratically, their perception of chaos colliding with humanity's embrace of it. Even General Thrak, for all his bravado, appeared shaken, his notions of strength challenged by this alien philosophy. The ambassador's voice softened, yet carried an edge of warning. What you see as weakness is our greatest weapon. We understand the universe's most profound truth, that all things end. And because we accept this, we are prepared to face what lies beyond. Our trials have taught us to survive. Our mortality has taught us to fight for every moment. And if there are horrors in the galaxy greater than death itself, we will face them. Not with fear, but with resolve. The assembly fell silent once more. The flickering holograms of humanity's struggles faded, leaving the chamber bathed in the dim glow of the alien starfields beyond. For the first time, the gathered civilizations didn't see Earth's ambassador as weak. Instead, they saw something they couldn't quite name, a strength that defied logic, a force that unsettled even the most advanced among them. The chamber's tension was palpable as the assembly prepared to deliberate the results of humanity's trial. The ambassador stood calmly, awaiting the verdict, when an alarm shattered the relative quiet. Lights dimmed, replaced by harsh red strobes, and the massive holographic display shifted to reveal something unimaginable. An entity, vast and incomprehensible, loomed on the edge of the system. Its form defied logic, shifting and writhing as though it were not bound by the physical laws that govern the universe. Tendrils of blackened energy lashed out, consuming everything in their path. It was the Voracis, a predator spoken of only in hushed tones across the galaxy. Entire civilizations had fallen to it, their planets reduced to lifeless husks. Even the Galactic Assembly, with all its might, had no protocol for facing such a threat. Panic erupted. Delegates scrambled, shouting in their native tongues, issuing conflicting orders to retreat or shield their vessels. The hive mind's chorus fractured, its collective voice trembling with disarray. The crystalline speaker dimmed to near darkness, their light patterns erratic. General Thrak bellowed commands, but his warriors faltered, unprepared for a foe that could not be intimidated by brute strength. In the chaos, the human ambassador stepped forward, their voice cutting through the clamor. If we do nothing, it will destroy us all. We have no choice but to fight. Thrak turned, snarling. Fight? Against that? Are you mad? Perhaps, the ambassador replied. But madness is preferable to surrender. They gestured to their team. Humans, we've faced the impossible before. This is just another trial. While the assembly reeled in fear, humanity took action. Within moments, humans began coordinating efforts, rallying whoever would listen. Using their simulation experience as a blueprint, they adapted alien technologies on the fly, cobbling together weapons and shields from whatever was available. The Voracis's tendrils reached toward the assembly's perimeter, disintegrating unmanned outposts in an instant. Yet instead of retreating, humans pressed forward, establishing defensive perimeters and deploying drones to gather data on the creature's behavior. "Focus fire on the appendages," barked a human commander, her voice steady despite the chaos. "If it can feel pain, we'll find out." Alien delegates watched in disbelief as humans directed the battle. They operated with a mixture of desperation and ingenuity, finding weaknesses where none should have existed. A small team of engineers, working alongside a crystalline delegate, converted a mining laser into a concentrated energy weapon capable of severing one of the Voros's tendrils. When another appendage lashed toward a cluster of vessels, a human pilot deliberately crashed their craft into it, buying time for the others to retreat. Sacrifice became the human strategy, but it was never wasteful. Every loss created an opening, every failure taught a lesson. The hive mind, struggling to process the chaos, muttered, "They fight as if their lives are expendable, yet they gain ground." The reptilian general, though reluctant, began issuing orders to his own forces, mimicking the humans' tactics. "Cover the humans! Give them time to prepare their next move!" As the battle raged, the ambassador and their team devised a final, desperate plan. The Voros's, they theorized, fed on energy, both organic and synthetic. By overloading a critical power source and luring the creature into proximity, they might force it into a state of collapse. "This is madness," the crystalline speaker intoned. The ambassador nodded. "Perhaps. But it's our only chance." Volunteers stepped forward. Humans and even a few aliens offered themselves for the mission, knowing it was likely a one-way trip. They worked with feverish determination, assembling the trap from pieces of abandoned vessels and power cores. As the Voros's bore down on the assembly, consuming the last of the outer defenses, the trap was deployed. A small craft, piloted by a human captain, carried the overloaded core directly toward the entity. The assembly watched in stunned silence as the pilot transmitted their final message. "Death comes for us all," the pilot said, their voice calm. "But today, we choose how we meet it." The overloaded core detonated at the heart of the Voros's, unleashing a blinding burst of energy that engulfed the predator. For a moment, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. When the light faded, the Voros's was gone, its form scattered into harmless particles. The chamber remained silent as the assembly processed what had just occurred. The humans, battered and diminished, stood victorious. Their ambassador turned to face the stunned delegates, their voice soft but firm. "We fought not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we refused to let fear decide our fate. Death is inevitable, but so is the will to survive." General Thrak, for once, had no retort. The crystalline speaker's light pulsed in what could only be described as awe. Even the hive mind, usually quick to dismiss emotion, was quiet, its chorus of voices subdued. The battle had ended, but it left an indelible mark. Humanity had faced what the galaxy considered unbeatable and emerged not unscathed, but unbroken. For the first time, the assembly saw Earth not as a fragile, insignificant world but as a force that could endure even the most profound darkness. The Galactic Assembly reconvened in the aftermath of the Voros's defeat. The atmosphere in the chamber, once filled with derision and superiority, now simmered with an unspoken tension. The alien leaders, whose earlier laughter had mocked humanity, exchanged glances, their expressions betraying a mix of grudging respect and quiet awe. "Speaker, sir," the crystalline delegate, shimmered with hesitant light. "Humans, your actions today defy comprehension. Your species, so fragile and fleeting, has accomplished what entire civilizations could not." The words carry no condescension, only a cautious admiration. General Thrak, ever the skeptic, crossed his arms. "You have courage, I'll give you that. But courage alone doesn't explain it. You faced the Voros's with nothing but scraps and resolve. Why?" His tone was no longer mocking but genuinely curious. The human ambassador stepped forward, their presence commanding despite their smaller stature among the towering alien forms. "Because we had to. Survival has always been our greatest challenge and our greatest teacher. When others saw weakness, we saw opportunity. Where others gave up, we adapted. It is who we are." The hive mind delegator, Its collective voice softened from its usual sharpness, hummed in unison. Admirable. Illogical, but admirable. Your individuality, your unpredictability, defies the collective understanding. And yet, it appears to be your strength. The ambassador's gaze swept across the assembly. We are not the strongest. We are not the smartest. But we endure. When the odds are against us, we find ways to rise. And we do not rise alone. The room fell silent as the weight of those words settled. The ambassador continued, their tone resolute. Today, we showed what humanity can do. But this isn't just about us. It's about what we can achieve together. You mocked us for our mortality, for our limitations, but those very things make us relentless. We do not seek domination or conquest. We seek connection, collaboration, and understanding. The assembly members, once divided in their opinions, now seemed unified in their quiet reflection. Humanity's representative extended an open hand. We offer to share what we know. Our creativity, our resilience, and our understanding of survival. Let us work together, not as competitors, but as allies. Speakers pulsed with faint light, their tone contemplative. Your offer is unexpected. Few would show generosity after such mockery. Perhaps that is what makes you remarkable. General Thrack gave a curt nod, the closest thing to a bow from his proud species. You've earned my respect, human. And that is not something I give lightly. The hive mind's voice whispered softly. Respect, shared among the many. Rare indeed. The ambassador allowed a small, thoughtful smile. Respect is the first step toward trust. And trust is what builds civilizations. As the assembly prepared to formally welcome Earth into the galactic community, a final symbol appeared within the chamber. At the center of the room, a hologram flickered to life, a towering figure cloaked in shadow, its scythe glinting as if catching an unseen light. The Grim Reaper, humanity's personification of mortality, now stood beside Earth's emblem, a blue-green planet encircled by olive branches. The image spoke volumes. It represented humanity's acceptance of its fragility, its defiance in the face of inevitability, and its ability to turn even death into a source of strength. The assembly members watched in silence. The laughter that had once filled this hall was gone, replaced by bowed heads and quiet understanding. The hive mind delegator, its many voices resonating as one, offered a final observation. The Reaper stands not as an adversary but as a companion. Perhaps we too have something to learn. The ambassador inclined their head. We all do. That's the point. And with that, humanity's place among the stars was no longer a question of mockery or trial. It was a testament to what it means to face the unknown, not with fear, but with resolve, ingenuity, and the unshakable belief that even the smallest, most fragile spark can illuminate the darkest void.